get out, Puff pull out first. We pull out behind him. He blow past the light.
I never knew that you could feel so sad, feel so hurt, feel so empty.
His world, the rap world, and my world were completely opposite. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be listening to rap music.
The world of hip-hop has witnessed its fair share of tragedy, and one of the most poignant chapters in its history is the untimely death of Christopher Wallace, better known as the notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. On the fateful night of March 9, 1997, Biggie's life was tragically cut short in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, leaving a void in the rap industry and in the hearts of his fans that can never be filled. Lil CE, a close friend and fellow rapper, was not only a witness to this tragic event, but also a key figure in the aftermath, shedding light on the circumstances surrounding Biggie's death.
And before you know it, a car just rolled up, start popping in the car. Didn't say nothing, didn't yell nothing, just pop, 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 pop.
In his account of what transpired that fateful night, CE revealed that Diddy's car, which was right in front of theirs, he and Biggie ran the red lights, but Biggie's driver was instructed to stop. It is that reckless decision that granted the hitman the opportunity he needed to shoot the hypnotized hitmaker. And CE is not alone in his account of what transpired that fateful night. Diddy's former bodyguard has also shed new light on Biggie's death, claiming his March 1997 wasn't a drive-by shooting. Gene Deal, who was part of Puff's security detail in the 90s, opened up about the night Biggie was killed in an interview with The Art of Dialogue and expressed his frustration at how the events leading to his death are portrayed in movies and documentaries. Contrary to popular opinion, Deal insisted that the Brooklyn rapper's untimely demise technically wasn't the result of a drive-by, as he believes the K, who has yet to be identified by police, was already lurking in wait prior to pulling the trigger. It just hurts because they lie too much. A lot of that B lies the way they put it together because they are listening to these white boys who wasn't even there, he vented. I don't want to make this racial, but they take these white boys who weren't even there and want to use the stories they want to tell, which is not the truth, he continued. Wasn't no drive-by. The car was standing there at the corner. The stories they tell are not truthful, and now people are sitting here believing. Every Biggie movie that you see, they say it's a drive-by, when the witness tells you the car was stood right there at the corner. The car was probably there all night. Gene Deal also recalled rushing to Biggie's aid after his GMC Suburban had been shot up by the driver of a black Chevy Impala, which had pulled up alongside it at a red light near the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, where the bad boy hitmaker had attended a Soul Train Awards after party. According to Lil CE and Gene, Diddy knew something was going down. Gene Deal warned him earlier, but he ignored him. One theory that's never going away is that Diddy set up Biggie's because Biggie started writing songs for other artists so that he could get some publishing rights. Diddy owned the publishing of Biggie's albums and Biggie writing for other artists. That was his way of getting around that. The New York native also scouted for talent to put on his Big Beat record label instead of Bad Boy. Why do you think Junior Mafia signed with Big Beat and not Bad Boy? Apparently, Biggie was doing a joint venture with Lance Rivera and running his own record label. He was preparing to leave Bad Boy as soon as he met his contractual obligations. According to Gene Deal, Puffy and Biggie were not homies. It was never a partnership. That was all for show. The reality was it was a boss versus employee relationship dynamic between Puff and Biggie. And Puff was the boss. Biggie got jerked around the same way everyone else on Bad Boy got jerked around, except Biggie got set up on his way out. The night of his death, Biggie and his entourage went to a Soul Train Awards after-party sponsored by Quincy Jones and Vibe magazine at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Miracle Mile. Diddy later recalled that none of his Bad Boy Records peers felt the posh area posed any danger before the rapper's death. Despite the fire department shutting things down for being overcrowded at 12:30 a.m., Biggie left in good spirits after posing for pictures with fans. Trickling into 3 cars, Diddy and his bodyguards filled the lead SUV while Big and his crew jumped into a Suburban, both trailed by security in a Chevrolet Blazer. After the Bad Boy founder rushed through a yellow light on Wilshire Boulevard and Fairfax Avenue, Biggie and his security were left idling on red, sitting in the passenger seat. That's when a white Toyota Land Cruiser wedged itself between the 2 cars, and a Chevrolet Impala pulled up alongside the rapper to fire 4 shots. An hour into March 9th, Biggie Smalls was dead. Among his entire crew, no one was as badly affected by Biggie's death as Lil CE. The story of Lil CE and Biggie Smalls began in the neighborhoods of Brooklyn, New York. Both young men came from tough backgrounds, navigating the challenges of poverty, crime, and adversity. Born as James Lloyd in 1977, Lil CE hailed from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, while Biggie was born in neighboring Clinton Hill in 1972. They were brought up amidst the turbulence of the 1980s crack epidemic, a time when their surroundings were fraught with danger and temptation. But despite their differences in age and background, CE and Biggie quickly forged a deep bond. Their friendship transcended the typical definitions of companionship, becoming more akin to a brotherhood. They shared not only their dreams of rap stardom, but also their struggles, joys, and fears. They found solace in each other's company and the shared aspiration of escaping the harsh realities of their Brooklyn neighborhoods. Their relationship was built on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Biggie's talent as a lyricist and storyteller was evident from a young age, and CE recognized his friend's potential even before the world did. This unwavering belief in Biggie's talent would play a pivotal role in both of their journeys. When Big started making waves in the rap scene, he didn't forget his friend CE. In fact, he brought him along for the ride. Together, they formed Junior Mafia, Masters at Finding Intelligent Attitudes, a hip-hop collective that would become synonymous with the mid-1990s East Coast rap resurgence. The crew consisted of close friends and associates, but Lil CE held a special place as Biggie's right-hand man. Junior Mafia's debut album, Conspiracy, released in 1995, featured contributions from both Biggie and CE. Tracks like Player's Anthem and Get Money showcased their undeniable chemistry. The latter track, featuring Lil Kim, remains an iconic anthem of that era, with Lil CE's distinctive voice complementing Biggie's lyrical prowess. While the friendship between Lil CE and Biggie Smalls flourished, the rap world was embroiled in a fierce and tragic rivalry between the East Coast and West Coast hip-hop scenes. The East Coast, led by artists like Biggie and Jay-Z, and the West Coast, represented by Tupac Shakur and Dr. Dre, were locked in a bitter feud that would ultimately lead to violence and loss. CE and Biggie found themselves caught in the crossfire of this feud. Tupac, a former friend of Biggie's, had accused him of orchestrating a 1994 shooting in which he was wounded. The tension escalated, and Tupac's untimely death in 1996 further fueled the rivalry. Biggie, too, would tragically lose his life in Los Angeles just months later. The loss of Biggie was a devastating blow to Lil CE. It not only took away his friend and mentor, but also left a void in the rap world that would never be filled. In the aftermath of Biggie's death, CE faced the daunting task of carrying on his friend's legacy. He continued to make music and remained active in the hip-hop scene, but the absence of Biggie loomed large. CE's solo efforts, such as his debut album, The Wonderful World of CeCe Leo, were met with mixed success. Despite the challenges, he remained committed to preserving the memory of his fallen friend. He continued to pay homage to Biggie in his music, ensuring that his friend's influence lived on through his own work. In the years following Biggie's death, Lil CE found himself at odds with some of Biggie's family and friends, particularly Biggie's mother, Voletta Wallace. Legal battles and disputes over the use of Biggie's likeness strained relationships within the junior Mafia camp. However, time brought healing and reconciliation. CE and Ms. Wallace eventually found common ground, recognizing that their shared love for Biggie should prevail over any disagreements. The rapper's efforts to honor Biggie's memory were sincere, and as the wounds of the past began to heal, he was able to rebuild bridges with those who had once been at odds with him. Biggie's childhood was marked by the struggles of a single-parent household. His mother worked tirelessly to provide for her family, often holding multiple jobs to make ends meet. Growing up in a neighborhood plagued by crime and poverty, Biggie was exposed to the harsh realities of street life from a young age. Despite the challenging circumstances, he exhibited an early talent for storytelling and wordplay. He began honing his lyrical skills in the hallways of his high school, George Westinghouse Career and Technical Education High School. It was here that he adopted the moniker Biggie Smalls, inspired by a character from the 1975 film Let's Do It Again. As he navigated the pitfalls of his environment, Biggie found solace and a sense of purpose in his music. His lyrics became a canvas through which he could paint vivid pictures of the life he had known and the struggles he had faced. His unique storytelling ability, combined with his distinctive flow and commanding presence, set him apart from the burgeoning rap scene of the early 1990s. His big break came when he was discovered by Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Diddy, a rising star in the music industry, recognized Biggie's raw talent and signed him to his newly established record label, Bad Boy Records. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of a partnership that would change the course of hip-hop history. Under Puff Daddy's guidance, Biggie began to refine his craft and shape his unique sound. His debut single, Party and BS, released in 1993, served as a preview of the lyrical prowess that would soon captivate the rap world. However, it was his debut album, Ready to Die, released in 1994, that catapulted him to stardom. Ready to Die was a groundbreaking and introspective album that showcased Biggie's storytelling abilities. Tracks like Gimme the Loot and Everyday Struggle delved into the harsh realities of street life, while songs like Juicy and Big Papa exhibited his versatility by incorporating elements of R&B and soul into his music. The album was both a critical and commercial success, earning Biggie widespread recognition and establishing him as a force to be reckoned with in the rap industry. One of the key aspects of his rise to stardom was the development of his larger-than-life persona as the Notorious B.I.G. This alter ego was a reflection of the duality of his life, the struggle and hardship of his upbringing in Brooklyn, juxtaposed with the opulence and extravagance that came with his newfound fame. The Notorious B.I.G. was a persona that commanded attention. His imposing physical presence, standing at over 6 feet tall and weighing close to 300 pounds, added to his mystique. He often rapped about his luxurious lifestyle, including designer clothing, expensive cars, and lavish parties. This contrast between his past and present created a captivating narrative that drew listeners in and made them eager to hear more of his stories. What set Biggie apart from many of his peers was his authenticity. While he rapped about the trappings of success, he never lost touch with his roots. He remained deeply connected to the streets of Brooklyn, often returning to his old neighborhood to visit friends and family. This authenticity resonated with fans who could relate to his experiences and struggles. While Biggie's music often celebrated the excesses of his newfound wealth and fame, it also served as a form of social commentary. He used his platform to shed light on the systemic issues that plagued his community and communities like it across America. In songs like Things Done Changed and Suicidal Thoughts, The rapper explored the harsh realities of growing up in poverty and the desperation that often accompanied it. He spoke about the impact of drug addiction, violence, and the lack of opportunities for young people in his neighborhood. Through his music, he provided a voice for those who felt marginalized and overlooked by society. Biggie's storytelling abilities were particularly evident in his ability to paint vivid pictures of life on the streets. His lyrics were filled with gritty details and vivid imagery, allowing listeners to step into his world. This narrative style not only set him apart from his contemporaries, but also made his music relatable to a broad audience. To this day, his remains one of the most significant unsolved mysteries in hip-hop history. While his death marked the end of an era, his legacy continues to thrive. Biggie's influence on the rap genre is immeasurable. His storytelling abilities and lyrical prowess have inspired countless artists who have followed in his footsteps. His impact can be heard in the work of artists like Jay-Z, Nas, Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar, all of whom have cited him as a major influence on their careers. Beyond his music, Biggie's life story has been the subject of documentaries, biopics, and books. His enduring popularity has made him a cultural icon, and his image can be seen on murals, t-shirts, and merchandise across the globe. He is remembered not only for his music, but also for his authenticity, his resilience, and his ability to rise above his circumstances. It is unfortunate that he lost his life because of petty beefs, and allegedly, Diddy was the target, not him. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry that engulfed the hip-hop industry in the 1990s was not merely a battle of words and egos. It was a reflection of the complex and often volatile landscape of the music industry during that era. This feud, which pitted artists, record labels, and regions against each other, played a significant role in the tragic events that would later unfold, including the deaths of two iconic figures, Tupac Shakur and Biggie. The roots of the East Coast-West Coast feud can be traced back to the early 1990s, when hip-hop was undergoing a seismic shift. At the time, the genre was predominantly centered in New York City, with artists like Run DMC, LL Cool J, and Public Enemy dominating the scene. However, a new wave of West Coast hip-hop was emerging, led by acts like NWA, Ice-T, and Too Short. The West Coast's rise to prominence introduced a different sound and perspective to hip-hop. Artists from this region embraced a funk-influenced, laid-back style that often explored themes of street life and gang culture. Dr. Dre's The Chronic and Snoop Dogg's Style were pivotal albums that helped solidify the West Coast's place in the hip-hop landscape. As the West Coast gained momentum, tension began to simmer between artists from the two coasts. Some East Coast rappers felt that their dominance in the genre was being challenged, and a sense of territorialism began to take hold. This rivalry was not limited to music alone. It extended to competition over radio airplay, record sales, and even the clothing styles associated with each coast. One of the most notorious incidents that fueled the rivalry occurred at the 1995 Source Awards, an annual hip-hop awards show. The event took place in New York City, and tensions were palpable from the moment the ceremony began. The rift between the two coasts was glaringly evident when Shug Knight, the CEO of Death Row Records, took the stage to accept an award. During his acceptance speech, Knight made a statement that would become legendary and further exacerbate the feud. He declared, "Any artist out there who wants to be an artist and stay a star and don't have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing, come to Death Row." These words were seen as a direct challenge to East Coast artists and their labels, implying that the West Coast was the place for true creative freedom. The impact of this incident cannot be overstated. It escalated the tensions between the two coasts to new heights, solidifying the belief among many that there was a genuine feud brewing in the hip-hop industry. At the heart of the East Coast-West Coast feud were two of the genre's most iconic figures. Pac and Biggie. Their rivalry became the focal point of the conflict, and their personal animosities only served to heighten the tensions within the hip-hop community. Tupac, a West Coast native, had a tumultuous relationship with Biggie that can be traced back to a series of misunderstandings and conflicts. Pac believed that Biggie and Diddy had prior knowledge of the 1994 shooting in which Tupac was wounded. Although Biggie vehemently denied any involvement, Tupac's anger and paranoia grew, fueling his belief that there was a conspiracy against him. His 1995 imprisonment on assault charges only intensified his suspicions and his feud with Biggie. During his time in prison, Pac signed with Death Row Records, further aligning himself with the West Coast and increasing the tension between the rival coasts. One of the defining characteristics of the feud was the exchange of diss tracks and lyrical jabs between artists on both sides. These songs were not just artistic expressions. They became battle cries in a war of words. Tupac's Hit 'Em Up, released in 1996, remains one of the most infamous diss tracks in hip-hop history. In the song, the rapper viciously attacked Biggie, Diddy, and several other East Coast figures, accusing them of betrayal and deceit. The lyrics were laced with profanity and threats, and the song sent shockwaves throughout the industry. In response, Biggie released Who Shot Ya, a song that many interpreted as a direct taunt toward Tupac, given the timing and context of its release. Although Biggie maintained that the song was not a diss track and had been recorded prior to the escalation of the feud, it only further fueled the fire. The feud between the two reached a tragic climax, with the of both artists in drive-by shootings, incidents that remain unsolved to this day. Pac was the first to fall victim to the violence. On the night of September 7, 1996, he was shot multiple times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. He succumbed to his injuries 6 days later, on September 13th. His shook the hip-hop community and intensified the sense of fear and uncertainty surrounding the feud. The loss of Tupac only heightened the tensions between the two coasts, and many feared that Biggie might be next. Despite calls for peace from some corners of the hip-hop community, the animosity continued to simmer. Just 6 months after Tupac, Biggie met a similarly tragic fate. On March 9, 1997, he was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, a that would remain one of the most high-profile unsolved cases in the history of hip-hop. His death sent shockwaves through the industry, and the loss of two of its biggest stars within such a short span cast a long shadow over the genre. While it is important to remember that the feud did not cause the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, it undoubtedly created an atmosphere of tension, mistrust, and fear within the hip-hop community. In the aftermath of their deaths, the industry began to reevaluate the impact of the feud. Many artists and fans alike questioned the senselessness of the conflict and the toll it had taken on the lives of two immensely talented individuals. Calls for unity and a ceasefire in the feud became more pronounced. Today, the East Coast-West Coast feud is remembered as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the consequences of rivalry and division within a genre that has the power to inspire and unite. It serves as a reminder of the fragility of life, the destructive power of violence, and the need for artists and those involved to work together. Despite rumored links about Diddy's involvement in both the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, nothing has been proven, and therefore, he remains innocent until proven guilty. And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. That helps out the channel's algorithm. Big salute to all my subscribers. If you're not subscribed to the channel, then hit that red subscribe button and subscribe. Peace to all of y'all. LASHEIM to God. Keep low, you never tell, they'll never know.